looks like you're up to something. Well, I have some work to do today on my time machine over here, the Timecraft. Just need to make some specifications and work on some dials and knobs. That's your Timecraft, huh? Yep. Looks like the box that Dylan Bianchi mailed you in. Bianchi? I remember that man. He barely even kept enough Oreo cookie in the house. And when we did run out of Oreo, it took him up to 48 hours to replenish. Well, anyway, good to see all of you. I have to get back to work on my Timecraft now. Excuse me. Let's see what... Jehovah Bear, what's wrong? There's a booby trap. The Timecraft has been booby trapped. What? There's a tripwire. It's hooked up to plastic explosives. Enough to blow me to kingdom come. Being shunned by a gas station attendant now? I don't know what's happening anymore. Anyways, just wanted to update you on the current events developing with the shunning policy. It's a funny little story. Oh, good. Funny and little. Well, two things I'm looking forward to. About 2 weeks ago, I walk up to the register at a gas station, and there's a short little guy with a mustache behind the counter. A very ridiculous little man. And he is working there, I guess, and I get to the counter and I hand him my debit card. And he looks at it, and he lifts it back a little bit and says, "Well, I'll be. I recognize this name. Do you go to the Kingdom Hall?" And I said, no, but I have relatives there. And he said, "Well, do you know so-and-so?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "We've been hanging out together lately." And I said, "Hanging out, huh?" And he said, "Well, we've been studying a little bit." And I said, "See ya," and I left. Anyway, about 8 or 9 days later, I'm back at the same gas station. And I walk through the door, and I see the same little man behind the counter. And he looks up at me for a second, and just for a second, he has a look of anguish flash across his face. And then he looks downward as quickly as he can. And inside I'm thinking, wow, really? Well, here we go. Here it comes. Let's do it. And so I get in line, and then when I get to the register, the poor little guy won't even look up at me. He's just staring downward like he sees $1 million bill on the floor. And the look on his face is a mixture of sadness and shame. Maybe a touch of confusion. So, anyway, I just wanted to update you on the shunning situation. It's blossoming beautifully. It's a flourishing thing with new developments, exciting new advancements and brand new levels to reach all the time. So, you have, by the way, this man is not a JW. That's the fickle part. I'm guessing, in fact, that he probably doesn't fully understand what's going on. But one of his brand new bestest buddies until the end of time has revealed to him that God views people in categories. Furthermore, there is a designated group of people that have something wrong with them. And this group of people must never, I can't stress this enough, must never hear the words hi, hello, or thank you come out of your mouth. This is very important. In fact, if you could make a nasty look or some visible sign of disgust, it'd really help out. But, no matter what, remember not to smile or say how are you, because it'll just ruin everything we're trying to do here. Jehovah wishes these people were dead. The next best thing is to have people not being nice to them. It's a big deal. In fact, if you did slip up and talk to one of these people, Jehovah could conceivably shift gears and turn his attention towards you. You don't want that, do you? His anger is focused at them right now, but if you talk to them, his lens of anger could widen out to encompass you as well. Think about that. I mean, for all he knows, you are complicit in the whole thing now. Don't confuse the man. He's not a mind reader. He's just trying to figure out what side everyone's on. And when you say hi to a mentally diseased person, it just clouds everything up for him. It draws into question whether you really love him or not. This is a nail biter for him. He's just gripping his armchair with the rest of us, waiting to see what's going to happen next. The spotlight's on you. Will you fail, Jehovah, and be nice to that person? Or will you rise to the occasion and give Jehovah a demonstration to see? You could stare at the ceiling, for instance, or you could act like the person's invisible. But the point is to let the other person know that you know that Jehovah doesn't like them anymore. And when you give Jehovah this piece of evidence that proves to him what he needs to see, he's able to relax again and sit back. And a rosy glow returns to his cheeks. This was a key moment for you, and you stood your ground. You remained cold and unapproachable to someone whose sins are worse than yours. And there's a big payoff in store for you. You see, someday, millions of years from now, after your new body and new personality have been restored to perfection, you will be able to have a one-on-one conversation with Jehovah, just like Adam did. And you'll say, Jehovah, thank you for creating Panda Bear Land and giving me a dozen different mansions to live in. The past 100 years have been incredible. And Jehovah goes, oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Makes me feel good. By the way, before we get started, I'd just like to begin things off right with a Christian side hug. That's right. Bring it in. Yeah. Oh, I love Christian side hugs. So uplifting. By the way, call me Jah. J-A-H. 3 letters. It's my nickname and I prefer it. It saves time. Which is not really a commodity in these eternal days of the new system, but nevertheless, I am a god of order. While we're on that subject, I'd just like to say that it's me who should be thanking you. You did a favor for me a long time ago. It was an act of coldness in a gas station. I was really counting on you that day, and boy did you come through for me. And I feel I should thank you, because you personally were helping me separate the sheep from the goats. Up in heaven I can easily differentiate them, but down on earth, I always need someone to lay the groundwork for me. And you delivered on that. You were my man on the ground level. And you go, well, Jehovah, thank you. But I must admit, it felt strange for me, a sinner, to be turning my back and shunning someone who was in the same sinful condition that I too was in. It seemed an odd thing to do, Jehovah. And Jehovah goes, well, you see, I'm a chess player. And I move people around like pieces on a chessboard. Sometimes I need this person over here to be a douchebag to that person over there. It's all part of my divine plan. Look, the important thing is that we made that person at the gas station understand that he sucks. We did it together. Home team. And you go, That's a relief to hear, Lord Jehovah, because I always wondered if I hurt that person's feelings. And Jehovah goes, well, don't worry, because that person doesn't have feelings anymore, if you know what I mean. And you and Jehovah share a big, long laugh together, and the 80s music starts playing, and it goes to freeze frame, and the credits begin rolling. A Steve Guttenberg production, starring Pat Sajak as you. Anyways, I just wanted to update you on the shunning policy of Jehovah's Witnesses and its current status. It's 2013. We're in the year 2013, and somebody who isn't a JW is shunning someone who isn't disfellowshipped, and they're standing at a gas station and they don't even know each other. So, the miracle of shunning. It's a provision Jehovah has given us. Classifying people into typesets and then giving them silent glares to teach them a lesson. It's like a passive-aggressive fruitage of the Spirit. It's a brainchild of Jehovah God, and it's still going strong after all these many years. You see, Jehovah invented this act of Christian kindness back in the 1870s. And that's right. Back in the days of cholera and chamber pots. Back in the days where people shit into a cooking pot and then pushed it under their bed and walked away like it never even happened. It was a more genteel time back then. Yes, back in the days of cobblestones and covered wagons. Jehovah started the whole thing at a home Bible study group in Allegheny, Pennsylvania, with a certain pastor who began ejecting people that disagreed with him on Bible points. And it caught fire from there. People loved it. The danger, the excitement. It went gangbusters. Now, let's zoom forward 140 years into the space age. People are now able to share Watchtower propaganda videos by touching their iPhones together. It's the futuristic year of 2013. And the spiritual paradise of Jehovah's Witnesses has advanced to the point where a gas station clerk that 3 weeks ago didn't know what Jehovah's Witnesses was, and now, when certain customers walk through the door, he has to make the split-second decision to do his job or pretend to be a statue for Jehovah. In other developments, this morning, Jehovah Bear found a tripwire loaded with enough C4 to blow him to kingdom come.
Because this is the way I would see it. I would see it first, it's the friend. It's okay to have the nice black friend, and then the next thing, it's going to be the nice black boyfriend.
And you'd have a problem with that?
I would never speak to him again. That would be it. If they were race traders, then they wouldn't. That absolutely would be. I wouldn't want to have anything to do with them ever again. And I told them that. I consider it because this is the way.
It's easy to say, but the maternal instinct's got to be one of the strongest instincts in human beings. Mm-hmm. You're saying you would completely go against that, have no contact with your child.
I would be so disappointed. I would just be so disappointed.
Well, it's the preaching campaign of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's the combined efforts of all of them on earth going door to door, 2 by 2, and leaving literature. By the way, it's the biggest event that has ever happened, ever. That's right. The never-to-be-repeated preaching work on a worldwide scale no one has ever seen the likes of. And millions of years from now, you could be proud to say you had a share in it. You could tell field service stories to your millions of grandchildren. It is the culmination, friends. We've reached the climax of human history. I will confide to you, though. As a young person, I struggled with this concept at times because this preaching campaign, which is the biggest event in human history, appears to go pretty much unnoticed outside the world of the Kingdom Hall. And I don't mean that it's being ignored or being misconstrued. I mean that whatever it is Jehovah's Witnesses were trying to get across to the world, it didn't work. Sorry. It seems as though the world at large doesn't understand the message at all. Now, a Jehovah drone is going to refute this and say, oh, people do hear the message. They're just too proud to accept it and do what Jehovah requires of them. I disagree. I absolutely disagree. 100%. If you're asking yourself right now, what license do I have to speak out on this? Well, maybe you're looking down below and someone has typed, "You're just tearing down Jehovah's people. Stop tearing down Jehovah's people." I understand religion is a touchy subject for many people today, 100 times more so for a Jehovah's Witness. It's anyone who says a word about their sacred cow, it's a powder keg, percolating, ready to explode on anyone who dares to venture a criticism. Which is ironic because that's their whole bag. Anyways, if you're asking how dare I speak out on the preaching work, well, just want to time out for a moment and give you a little background on me. Before my very first day of kindergarten, I was already a seasoned JW doorstep preacher. Not because my parents pushed me into it, just because it was something I wanted to do. I loved it. Standing on my tippy toes, reaching as high as I could, ringing doorbells all day, getting pats on the head. Do you remember those long summer days that you and your friends spent playing at the swimming pool? Well, I don't remember those days because they never happened. My 100-degree days were spent wearing a suit and warning people about Jehovah. It's just something I wanted to do. In fact, here's an interesting number that I figured out with a notepad and a pen. It turns out that I have spent no less than 7,000 hours in the field ministry. 7,000 hours. I know, it's amazing. Maybe that number is too large for you to believe. But I challenge you, sit down with a calculator. It may turn out that your own number is somewhere in that same ballpark. In fact, I believe my number is actually somewhere around 9,000. But I'm going to keep it conservative for you. I don't want to get carried away. I just want to keep things halfway normal here. Can we do that? Absolutely. The rock bottom figure is 7 big ones. 7,000 hours, door to door. Or pretending to go door to door. Calm down. Easy. Auxiliary Pioneer Service. full-time pioneer service, unassigned territory, seldom work territory, and special campaigns. I'm not even factoring in RBC, which they allow you to count hours for. I'm not even doing that. I'm talking about field service. 20 solid years of door-to-door preaching work. And you know what? I didn't get one penny. I didn't even get a thank you note. A note would have been nice. 20 years. 20 years of toiling. And when I finally broke down and gave up, I didn't get a thank you. I got a fuck you. Jehovah's organization didn't tell me job well done. They told me you're finished. Now go off somewhere and be quiet. Just move on. Just let it go, please. Let it go. It's time to move on. I'm worried about your heart. You could have a heart attack before the age of 50. If Armageddon hasn't come by then, which it will. Well, while I'm waiting here for my death at Armageddon, I believe that if nothing else, my 7,000 hours of unthanked slave work have bought me this little opportunity to witness to you. Just gonna do a little informal witnessing, friends. I just thought, Brother Williams and I could work together, just do some informal witnessing if we could. We have our own arrangements this morning. Friends, I just want to get up on my feet, give our Lord a standing ovation. Will you join me in that? I want to hear you go, woo! I just want to stop for a minute and have a little sit down with all of you. I believe that I have earned this little face-to-face we're having. So if you could humor me for 5 minutes. I just want to give you the breakdown. Here he comes. No doubt you have heard Watchtower propaganda about the kingdom work. And you've heard it presented to you in very glowing terms. Maybe you've seen one of their JW.org videos talking about the preaching work. It's a beautiful thing. I just want to stop for a moment and describe the preaching work to you as I see it. I'm just going to describe this whole thing for you. If you've never been out in service, I'll give you the rundown. I want you to imagine you're a JW and you're out in the field ministry. You've got your little presentation memorized and you're walking up the sidewalk. And here's a householder. And you're going to be brave and talk to him. You say, "Hello, we're out in the territory this morning, and we're asking you and your neighbors a question. Do you ever think we'll see a time when families won't have to worry about the future so much anymore?" To which the householder replies, "The fuck you doing on my driveway?" That is, in essence, the kingdom preaching work of Jehovah's Witnesses. Tiny little people, lost in their own tiny little worlds, going door to door, trying to bring the good news to people, but they're too out of touch with reality to even communicate with anyone on the most basic level. It's not that we failed to reach people's hearts. It's that we failed to reach people across the board. The worldwide preaching work was a dismal failure. And it's not about numbers. It's about people. It failed on a human level. Friends, if we wanted to go door to door and tell people about the new system and the paradise earth, We should have been doing it from our hearts. This thing should have been a heart condition being expressed freely. The whole thing should have been a free-flowing, naturally occurring phenomenon, not a sales ploy, not a cheap 1950s sales tactic. And that's why the kingdom message doesn't work on hardly anyone. It's misplaced from the beginning. It's wrong from the word go. It's not actually Jehovah's Witnesses that are wrong, though. It's Watchtower. Manufacturing timesheets, record cards, giving people book bags. You will come to learn that Jehovah is big sometimes, and other times he's very little. He goes back and forth. At times he's so big he takes up the universe. And then at other times he's like a tiny little elf that goes around finding little ways to subvert your life. You learn this from JWs. If you are DF'd or inactive, you find out that Jehovah has a vindictive streak regarding you personally, and he's going to do little things to you, to sabotage you. Just little signals to let you know how he feels. Not entirely different from an angry primate communicating his frustration by throwing things or hitting them together. For instance, let's say you are having car trouble. Imagine your car just had its radiator blow up and you got problems. Well, the next time you talk to your mother, she's going to say, well, you were irregular out in service last month. You didn't even report any time or give the conductor a time slip. Maybe, maybe Jehovah's doing a little something. You see, some days, Jehovah is magnanimous, and he sits established on his mighty throne and presides over the universe. Other days, he's coy and easily offended, like the puckish gods of Greek mythos. And he's gonna do little things to mess you up until you get out in service again, and he just wants you to get the message and get back into the truth. However, this doesn't mean that your car engine is done having problems. You see, when you are putting Jehovah first in your life, Satan sees this and it irritates him really bad. So he proceeds to test you, and he goes about making things in your life very hard. And Jehovah allows this because it's how he vindicates his name. So you're in a tough spot. When you're not living up to your obligation to Jehovah, he does little acts of mayhem against you until you shape up. But once Jehovah is happy with you, then Satan taps into the ring and starts knocking you all around. It's like they're taking turns. Friends, I wish I could tell you it's okay to laugh this off, but I gotta be truthful with you. In my personal experience, there is someone out there and he is messing with people. Now, I don't know where Jehovah is or what he's up to. Maybe Jehovah is the name of a reptilian on a flying saucer. But on many, many frequent occasions, it would seem that this Jehovah is indeed toying with us. I'll give you an example. Imagine you are at a grocery store. You're buying some food items. And behind the counter, you see a package of cigarettes. And it looks good. And you're thinking to yourself, boy, I'd like to try one of those. And you lift your finger up to point at them. And right at that moment, you feel a tingling in the back of your neck. And you turn your head a little bit, And right behind you in line is a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Jehovah's Witness from the Kingdom Hall. And they're staring at you with a very innocent and inquisitive expression on their face. And they're looking at you, and then they look over at the cigarettes you seem to have your eyes on. And the checkout person says, "I'm sorry, were you pointing at something?" And you say, "No." And you gather your things and scurry away. Now maybe you haven't seen another witness for months, but the day you plan on doing something naughty, a JW's just gonna pop up and be right there. If you're thinking of buying tobacco or condoms or anything you don't want them to know about, as soon as you walk through the door, there's going to be a JW right there. And right that second, they're going to lock eyes on you. And they're going to be standing right in front of whatever you wanted to buy, and they're not budging. They're just going to stand there, and their eyes will follow you all over the store until you finally just give up and leave. It's uncanny. It's unexplainable. Maybe you're thinking of getting a little tattoo, just a little one up on your arm where nobody will see it under your shirt. And you're just about, you've driven downtown, you're just about to go into the tattoo parlor. You're walking down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden, right there, just standing right in the middle of the sidewalk, with a big, bright, innocent Andy Griffith Show look on their face, is a JW that knows you from the hall. They're just standing there on the sidewalk for absolutely no reason. Furthermore, they seem to be aware somehow that you are poised and ready to sin against Jehovah. It's like they're waiting there to see it happen. They're waiting on a precipice of anticipation. They look at you, then they look over at the door of ill repute that you are about to walk through. And they're just waiting to see if you actually do it. You actually walk through that door and send them rocketing into a childlike state of confusion and disappointment that only a dove-like, unblemished servant of Jehovah could ever possibly experience or understand. JWs are very naive people, by the way. This is earth-shattering stuff for them. Getting a tattoo is like inking your own death warrant. Maybe you're a single woman, and you just went to Planned Parenthood and got yourself some birth control pills. I am telling you, as soon as you step out that door, you're going to see a car driving past. And that car is going to have a JW woman in it. In fact, she will be an elder's wife. And she's also something of a gossip. Oh, by the way, it will also so happen that she goes out in service with your mom every week. It's amazing. It's amazing, the timing of these things. The reliableness of the consistency. You can count on it. It's like Old Faithful. It's gonna happen every time. In fact, friends, if you talk to an actual JW about the existence of this phenomenon, they will confirm it for you. And they don't even blink about it. It's just a very real, matter-of-fact part of their daily lives. Sometimes Jehovah wants this person over here to see something that this person over there is doing, and he will move them around and he shuffles them around like pieces on a board to make it happen. He controls people like it's a video game. Now, maybe this is getting too far out for you, and I'm going to time out for a minute. Maybe you weren't raised a JW. Maybe you've never even been to the Kingdom Hall. So I will stop here and give you the breakdown. From the time you are a very small child, Jehovah begins watching you closely. Jehovah is constantly watching you and wringing his hands together and pacing the floor. You see, Jehovah is watching you so closely because he's relying on you. He needs you to take a stand for him every day, no matter how small. And he is crestfallen when you sin because it doesn't bring him glory, which is, he loves glory. Here's what Jehovah goes through each day. I'm going to describe for you the roller coaster ride that this man goes on every moment of every day of his life. Let's say you're at school and someone offers you a Valentine and you say, "No, it's against my religion." Jehovah hears this and it sends him soaring. It sends his spirits through the roof. He can feel the glorification of his name happening, and he rides it like a hot air current. However, if later on that same day, you see an opening to witness to someone informally, and you don't take advantage of that opportunity, Jehovah feels hurt. Deep inside, you hurt him. You actually hurt the creator of the universe. And he's not sure what to think of you anymore. It happens that fast. Jehovah! He's watching every move you make, not to mention every thought that enters into your head, and he's going through a whirlwind of emotions. You place a magazine, his heart leaps with joy. You look at a naked woman, his heart is crushed. And you're back in the doghouse with him. Millions of people all over the world, and Jehovah is watching them through a microscope. He needs to know if a lingerie commercial comes on the TV. Are they going to turn their eyes away from it and make him happy, or will they continue looking and make him feel a shot of pain through his entire body? I worry about Jehovah, you guys. The emotional barrage he goes through every day, billions of people's emotions pouring into his body, lighting him up like a taser. And he's been doing this for thousands of years. How long can you stand this emotional barrage? I'm worried that one day we're going to turn on the TV and Fox News is going to say that he walked into somewhere with a machine gun and went postal. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "We've been hanging out together lately." And I said, "Hanging out, huh?" And he said, "Well, we've been studying a little bit." And I said, "See ya." And I left. Anyway, about 8 or 9 days later, I'm back at the same gas station. And I walk through the door, and I see the same little man behind the counter. And he looks up at me for a second. And just for a second, he has a look of anguish flash across his face. And then he looks downward as quickly as he can. And inside I'm thinking, wow, really? Looks like you're up to something. Well, I have some work to do today on my time machine over here, the Timecraft. Just need to make some specifications and work on some dials and knobs. That's your Timecraft, huh? Yep. Looks like the box that Dylan Bianchi mailed you in. Bianchi? Really? Well, here we go. Here it comes. Let's do it. And so I get in line, and then when I get to the register, the poor little guy won't even look up at me. He's just staring downward like he sees $1 million bill on the floor. And the look on his face is a mixture of sadness and shame. Maybe a touch of confusion. So, anyway, I just wanted to update you on the shunning situation. It's blossoming beautifully. It's a flourishing thing with new developments, exciting new advancements and brand new levels to reach all the time. So, you have, by the way, this man is not a JW. That's the fickle part. I'm guessing, in fact, that he probably doesn't fully understand what's going on. But what if his brand anymore? Anyways, just wanted to update you on the current events developing with the shunning policy. It's a funny little story. Oh, good. Funny and little. Oh, two things I'm looking forward to. About 2 weeks ago, I walk up to the register at a gas station, and there's a short little guy with a mustache behind the counter. A very ridiculous little man. And he is working there, I guess, and I get to the counter and I hand him my debit card. And he looks at it, and he lifts it back a little bit and says, "Well, I'll be. I recognize this name. Do you go to the Kingdom Hall?" And I said, no, but I have relatives there. And he said, "Well, do you know so-and-so?" I remember that man. He barely even kept enough Oreo cookie in the house. And when we did run out of Oreo, it took him up to 48 hours to replenish. Well, anyway, good to see all of you. I have to get back to work on my timecraft now. Excuse me. Let's see what... Jova Bear, what's wrong? There's a booby trap. The timecraft has been booby-trapped. What? There's a tripwire. It's hooked up to plastic explosives. Enough to blow me to Kingdom Come. Being shunned by a gas station attendant now? I don't know what's happening.